Welcome to AnimaBixos. Today we're looking up. We are turning our eyes to the skies to analyze the absolute elite of aerial predators. And right off the bat, I need you to completely erase that peaceful, romanticized image of little birds singing in your backyard garden. What we are analyzing today are literal biological bombers. Eagles, falcons, hawks, and owls are ultra-high precision weapons. They've been engineered by millions of years of evolution to detect, pursue, and annihilate their targets at speeds that literally defy the laws of physics. Our technical explainer dossier today is going to completely break down the realistic mechanics, the extreme physics of their attacks, and the military-grade tactics that make these creatures the undisputed kings of the airspace.
Our detailed analysis is going to cover 6 main tactical zones today. Number 1, supersonic attack engineering. Number 2, brutal crushing force. Number 3, military pack tactics. Moving on to number 4, we've got stealth and 3D audio. Number 5 covers chemical defense and aerial combat. And finally, number 6, we'll be looking at the extinct giant. Let's gear up.
Section 1. Supersonic attack engineering and the Peregrine Falcon.
To kick off our analysis of aerial engineering, we absolutely have to focus on the fastest animal on planet Earth, the Peregrine Falcon. Now, the crucial thing to understand here is that this bird does not hunt using just brute force or muscle. It patrols at extreme altitudes, and once it locks onto a target, it initiates a sequence that transforms its entire body into a biological missile. This maneuver is called the stoop. It is a perfectly aerodynamic vertical dive. The falcon glues its wings completely flat against its body, essentially dropping its drag coefficient to 0, and uses the Earth's gravitational pull to accelerate. The biomechanics of the stoop are just flawless. It becomes this hyper-dense teardrop of muscle and bone, slicing straight through the atmosphere.
And the result of that aerodynamic perfection is a terrifying speed of over 320 kilometers per hour. Just think about that for a second. That completely shatters the terminal velocity of a human skydiver in freefall. And when it finally reaches the target, usually a pigeon or a duck mid-flight, it doesn't open its claws to try and grab it. At 320 kilometers per hour, doing that would literally rip its own legs off. Instead, it balls its feet up into tight closed fists and strikes the prey like a literal cannonball. We are talking about pure kinetic energy. The physical impact is so violently intense that it instantly snaps the prey's spine in midair. It's a clean, instant neutralization before the target even registers what just happened.
But here is the absolute most fascinating piece of this biological engineering. If you or I tried to dive face first at 320 kilometers per hour, the massive air pressure rushing into our nostrils would literally explode our lungs from the inside out. And this is where we see an incredibly intelligent irony of evolution. You see, long before human aviation engineers figured out how to stabilize airflow in supersonic turbines, nature had already solved the exact same problem. The falcon has these tiny, cone-shaped bone structures right inside its nostrils. They act exactly like the air baffles in a jet engine. They channel, break up, and decelerate that massive flow of oxygen so the bird can breathe comfortably while it's casually breaking world speed records. Human technology is quite literally still trying to catch up to nature's blueprints.
Section 2. Brutal crushing force and the Harpy Eagle.
Now, if the Peregrine Falcon represents the absolute peak of velocity, we're going to shift our theater of operations down to the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest to analyze the exact definition of raw, mechanical brute force, the Harpy Eagle. This is the most imposing bird of prey on the planet, with an anatomy focused entirely on causing overwhelming physical trauma. Just think about this comparison for a second. An adult grizzly bear is a global symbol of terrifying power, right? Well, the hind talons of a Harpy Eagle exceed 13 centimeters in length. It is genuinely wild to think about because they actually make a grizzly bear's claws look incredibly modest. These aren't just sharp nails. They are literal biological meat hooks attached to an incredibly dense, supramuscular framework.
But the sheer size of those talons is only half of this aerial nightmare. The real power is in the mechanical ratchet system of its grip, which delivers a devastating, crushing pressure of 500 psi. To put that into perspective, 500 psi is equivalent to the bite force of a massive wolf, but concentrated entirely on the ultra-sharp pinpoint tips of those talons. The Harpy's tactic is to launch a surprise attack on large tree-dwelling mammals like capuchin monkeys or sloths. The initial impact alone packs enough force to violently rip a heavy monkey straight off its branch.
And the exact millisecond those talons close, that 500 psi immediately crushes the ribcage and vital organs, neutralizing the prey in a fraction of a second. It is pure, unadulterated brute force at its finest.
Section 3. Military pack tactics and the Harris's hawk.
Moving away from the solitary giants of the jungles and heading into the arid deserts of the Americas, we find a truly fascinating anomaly. The overwhelming majority of birds of prey are solitary hunters, but the Harris's hawk operates completely differently. They've developed a strategy where they hunt like a literal wolf pack, applying highly organized military tactics right there in the sky. The tactical intelligence at play here is just brilliant. When they're tracking a fast, erratic target, like a jackrabbit darting through cacti, they divide up into strict military roles to guarantee the kill. First, they use an aerial relay. One hawk dives down to force the rabbit to run, while the others coast up high, saving their energy. Then comes the route blocking. The hawks circling above anticipate the escape path and position themselves to cut it off. Now, if the rabbit dives under a dense, thorny bush to hide, they switch to ground infiltration. I'm not kidding. One of the hawks will actually land on the dirt and walk into the brush on foot to flush the target out. And the exact moment that rabbit bolts from cover, the rest of the squadron is waiting right overhead for the surgical strike. This level of military execution pushes their hunting success rate to absolute astronomical levels.
Section 4. Masters of the Dark, 3D Audio, and Owls.
When the sun sets, the daytime squadron retreats, the airspace changes owners, and owls take absolute control. And they do this by utilizing a biological technology that, frankly, completely embarrasses human radar engineering. We are talking about absolute stealth. An owl, like the eagle owl, is basically the stealth bomber of the animal kingdom. Its primary weapon is 100% silent flight. The leading edge of their flight feathers has these incredibly fine serrations, almost like the teeth of a comb. This highly aerodynamic design slices through the turbulent air that would normally create the whooshing sound of wind. Combine that with ultra-soft down feathers that absorb any leftover friction, and they can fly literally inches from a target's head without emitting a single decibel. It is completely invisible biology. But being invisible is only useful if you can actually locate your target, and trying to hide from an owl is just an exercise in total futility. We humans have symmetrical hearing, meaning our ears are level. Owls, on the other hand, have an asymmetrical skull positioning. One ear is positioned higher up and tilted forward, while the other is lower down and pointed backward. Now, this isn't some strange biological deformity. It is a hyper-advanced acoustic targeting system. That biological asymmetry allows the owl's brain to calculate the microsecond differences in the time it takes for a sound to hit each individual ear. They are essentially building a real-time 3D audio map of their environment. You could be a mouse hiding under a solid foot of dense snow in pitch-black darkness, and it just doesn't matter. The owl is up there in the canopy, literally listening to the mouse's heartbeat underneath the snow. That final strike isn't guesswork, it's mathematically perfect.
Section 5. Chemical defense, aerial combat, vultures, and territorial eagles.
Maintaining dominance in an ecosystem also requires extreme biological defenses and the sheer nerve to engage in brutal territorial dogfights. Let's talk first about nature's official hazardous waste disposal units, vultures and condors. These guys eat rotting flesh that would kill literally any other predator in a matter of hours. So how exactly do they pull it off? With a military-grade immune system and an extreme stomach environment. A vulture's gastric acid has a pH level near 0. It is super acidic. This chemical composition is so relentless that it can dissolve solid lead bullets, break down solid bone, and instantly annihilate lethal pathogens and viruses like anthrax, cholera, and rabies. They take a deadly biological hazard and convert it into clean energy, acting like a giant chemical firewall that stops epidemics from completely wiping out the wilderness.
But while the vultures and condors dominate ground cleanup, massive territorial eagles, like the bald eagle and the golden eagle, are waging violent wars for dominance of the skies. When two alpha eagles dispute a territory, it's not just some standard bird fight. It is a violent, lethal aerial dogfight. They execute this brutal maneuver called cartwheeling. Two giant eagles will fly on a direct collision course, flip, and lock their massive talons together in midair. Physically pinned to each other, they fold their wings back and enter a spiraling, totally uncontrollable freefall straight toward the ground. It is quite literally a deadly psychological game of chicken. They are betting their actual lives to see who will break the lock and tap out first before they both smash into the earth.
Section 6. Historical Archives, the Extinct Giant, and Haast's Eagle.
Okay, we need to pause our energetic breakdown for a moment. Let's really slow things down here.
we need to open up the paleontological archives. Because everything we've talked about so far is happening right now, out there in the wild. But if we want to understand the absolute maximum limit of what evolution can manufacture, we have to look back at the ultimate evolutionary nightmare. On the islands of New Zealand, up until about 600 years ago, the skies were governed by the legendary Haast Eagle. This was the largest bird of prey humanity has ever witnessed. We are talking about an apex predator with over 15 kilograms of body mass, armed with talons the exact size of steel hunting knives. And this eagle's specialized prey wasn't rabbits or small monkeys. It hunted the moa, a gigantic flightless bird that weighed upwards of 200 kilograms. Haast's eagle would dive off high cliffs, striking the backs of these giant beasts at incredibly high speeds. The mechanical force of that impact was the kinetic equivalent of dropping a solid iron anvil off the top of a building straight onto the victim.
And the history of this creature gets significantly darker. Indigenous legends from the Maori tribe, which have now been largely corroborated by extensive historical and biological records, speak with deep, genuine terror about these birds. The legends clearly state that these gigantic eagles also hunted human children who wandered too far from the village edges. It is a deeply terrifying historical reality. It scientifically proves that when the evolutionary scale is pushed to its absolute maximum limit, birds of prey cease to be just fascinating animals to observe and become literal, lethal aerial nightmares.
All right, bringing it back to the present. From the supersonic precision of that falcon's dive to the bone-crushing weight of our history's true giants, these animals prove that nature's most lethal danger strikes from above, in absolute silence and at hundreds of kilometers per hour. And now, we here at AnimaBixos want to know what your tactical survival choice is. If you were standing in an open field and the threat alarm went off, what would you do? Would you rather try to dodge a kinetic impact at 320 kilometers per hour from a Peregrine Falcon? Or would you try your luck fighting to break the crushing 500 PSU pressure of a giant Harpy Eagle's grip? Leave your answer in the comments down below. Hit that like button right now to support our explainer dossiers focused on extreme realism. And make sure to subscribe right here to the AnimaBixos channel so you don't miss our next deep dive straight to the top of the food chain. Comment your tactical choice down below. We'll see you in our next technical analysis. Stay alert.